Wrestling styles change over time. It is just the nature of the beast. Along with it goes the accusation that the new generation ruins the wrestling industry with their endless high spots and even more extreme bumps. That opinion was voiced by Luthez about Harley Race, and it has never really gone away. But with the change in style comes a demotion of specific moves. Every new generation creates their own finishing moves, which naturally demotes existing ones into signature moves or the transitional territory. Don't get me wrong, the modern wrestling style is far better, with many more moves and much more impressive spots than 80s wrestling, which to modern wrestling fans is nigh on unwatchable. It's just a shame that some moves have fallen to the wayside, as they could still be used as great spots for heightened drama. Welcome to Honor Wrestling Club, and here are 10 moves that modern wrestling has ruined. Welcome to the club. In at number 10, we have the side headlock, which is a staple that has all but gone away. One of the worst things to happen to modern wrestling is the adoption of dirt sheet lingo terms, such as rest holds and moveset, which only became popular with the emergence of newsletters and especially the internet. Especially the term rest hold has arguably hurt the in-ring action, as holds such as a chinlock or an armbar are now merely seen as wrestlers taking a breather. Another victim of this trend is one of the most basic holds in wrestling, the side headlock. Once a great opportunity to communicate the next spot and explained as a wear down hold, now is merely used as a transitional move to shoot an opponent into the ropes. And if you go back and watch old wrestling, every Bret Hart match has minutes where a side headlock is applied, and they tell great stories throughout the spots, with wrestlers grabbing hair, kicking legs, doing everything to sell it as super duper painful, all of which is now gone in modern wrestling. In number 9, we have suicide dives and other jumping spots, as the mass dives to the outside do need to go away, or at least be limited. If you're old enough to remember wrestling in the late 80s and early 90s, then you remember the feeling of a dive to the outside. They happened very rarely, but when they did, they were incredible. Babyfaces dove outside to get to the heels, and often followed up with a series of punches to the downed opponent. Things changed a little bit with the WCW Cruiserweights, but their superior athleticism made it still work. Nowadays though, dives seem to happen in every match. The worst account? Staged dives into multi-man matches where everybody gathers to catch the last few divers. In number 8 we have the moonsault, which went from highlight reel to standard repertoire and has become every man's move. There were maybe a handful of wrestlers that used the moonsault as the 90s began, and nobody more prominently than the Great Muta. Bam Bam Bigelow does also come to mind as having a mighty impressive moonsault. As the 90s moved on, other wrestlers began to follow, including super heavyweight Vader and the 50-year-old veteran Terry Funk. Today though, a moonsault is just another move. Its use as a finish is rare and mostly restricted to the female talent, Tiffany Stratton and Io Sky for example. The novelty is completely worn off, and using a simple moonsault as a finish for a male wrestler seems unthinkable, unless said wrestler has Vader's stature. Even the moonsault's natural evolution, the shooting star press, has lost most of its appeal. In number 7, we have the cutter, as few moves are more overdone than the cutter. Johnny Ace's most useful contribution to wrestling is undoubtedly the cutter. Later adopted by Diamond Dallas Page and then handed down to Randy Orton, the cutter long evaded the fate that befell the DDT, until modern wrestling came along. Nowadays there are a multitude of cutters on most shows. Even in WWE, Orton's move is no longer sacred, with Cody Rhodes introducing his own version where he flies around the ring, and down in NXT, Javon Evans and Sol Ruger have admittedly very impressive cutter variants, but still cutter variants. This is a classic example that history is bound to repeat itself. In number 6 we have the superplex, which is a bump that has been greatly diminished. In the 80s, guys like Bob Orton and Barry Windham used it as a finish. By the 90s it had become mostly a significant high spot used on rare occasions. The superplex. Bret Hart used it on numerous occasions. The move remained high impact a move until the new millennium, when it increasingly lost its aura. Nowadays, many wrestlers don't even sell its impact. For example, Seth Rollins, who often hits the move from the top rope no less, and then rolls through to hit a Falcon Arrow, completely voiding the initial bump. In number 5, we have backbreakers, as innovation isn't always needed. Roderick Strong carries the name of the Messiah of the Backbreaker, and he has certainly earned a reputation as a master of innovation when it comes to backbreakers. But how many wrestlers can you name aside from Strong that use a backbreaker on a regular basis? It doesn't even need to be a finish. Think of Bret Hart's backbreaker or Rick Martel's side backbreaker. Those were used with the idea of working on their opponent's back, setting them up for their respective submission moves. The move is still believable and hasn't been seen regularly in years. It may be time for somebody to break it out again other than Strong, who does hit some absolute beauties. And speaking of bone breakers, in at number 4 we have neck breakers, as the innovation of this move killed it. Few moves have seen so many variants and innovations as the neck breaker. It's always been a move that lent itself to innovation. Modern versions like the Ushigoroshi are still impressive. The problem is that almost nobody uses a neck breaker as a finish. It's often not even seen as a signature move anymore. A neck breaker, by definition, should be treated as devastating, as it is essentially aimed at doing the maximum damage to the most critical area. I mean, the clue is in the name. Neck breaker. It's not called the neck tapper or something less crap. In number 3, we have the vertical suplex, which has lost all of its meaning. Few wrestling fans would buy the vertical suplex as a finish in the modern world. That's not a problem, and simply a result of innovation and evolution of the business. However, sometimes modern wrestling exposes itself for losing track of what a move can or should achieve, and what the idea behind the simulated combat is in the first place. Today, a vertical suplex is often used as a way to showcase somebody's strength. Fans are counting as the move is held, or a wrestler may do squats while holding his opponent up, or Bianca Belair will march holding them. It's all very impressive, but it fails to get to the point, namely that a vertical suplex is supposed to disorientate an opponent and deliver a significant bump. Instead, it has simply become a vehicle for fan interaction, which kills the suspension of disbelief. In number 2, we have the DDT. Dead, dropped, transitional, as the DDT has lost all its meaning. One name that always comes up when talking about the history of the DDT is Jake the Snake Roberts. Roberts used the DDT as a finish for most of his career, and the move was so over that fans screamed in joy whenever he hit it, and it cost him a WWE title against Hulk Hogan. Just another reason why wrestling fans can be the absolute worst. Not anyone who watches HWC though, you're all great. Later, Arn Anderson continued to use the move through much of the 90s as Roberts began to slowly fade from the spotlight. After WWE's retirement though, something happened. Wrestlers began to use the DDT as a high spot, but rarely as a finisher. Nowadays, the standard DDT is almost gone, and what we mostly see are variations of tornado DDTs that lead to 2 counts. Further, the move has become all about its selling rather than the execution. Unfortunately, none of that has helped the move, and while it's still popular amongst fans, it is one of the most overused and underrated moves in modern wrestling. And in number 1, we have super kicks. The move needs to go on a hiatus. Wrestling underwent a change with the emerging popularity of MMA and the return of Brock Lesnar in 2012 following his UFC success, and other wrestlers succeeding in MMA such as Bobby Lashley and Jake Hager. Arm breakers and knee bars began to be treated more seriously, and many wrestlers introduced roundhouse and side kicks into their repertoire. All of that was fine, but somehow in all of this, the super kick was swept up in the trend. Today, the move that Shawn Michaels perfected on the big stage into one of the best finishes ever is probably the most overdone move in wrestling. Not only has it lost all its finishing move status, it's lost almost all its meaning, with people simply kicking each other back and forth. I mean, when the Usos are hitting 17 super kicks in one match, yeah, it's probably lost all its meaning and needs to go. Modern wrestling has completely ruined the super kick. And there you have it, there's our list, so what do you think? Which move do you think has been ruined the most by modern wrestling? Let us know in the comments down below. Also, if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, give the subscribe button a super kick like everyone else. That's all for now, so I'd just like to thank you for watching, and welcome to the club. See ya!